Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here. We have a massive bombshell today that you do not want to miss. The deep, dark, nasty truth just came out. Before we dive into all of this, we're going to read the Bible. We're going to pray because God comes first. Amen. We need to turn to God right now in prayer. Amen. So comment amen down below if you believe God comes first. My brothers and sisters, we have a huge flash sale right now on the Invest Like Trump program. I just made the price down just for today only. It will end today and change tomorrow to $5 per month, which you can join the program to learn how to invest like Trump. And it's step-by-step and easy. Click the link below to check it out. You also get some bonus stocks inside the program. It's a no-brainer. Just for right now, for everybody who said it's too expensive, you couldn't afford it, check it out right now, lock in that price, and you can sign up right now at the link thefinanszone.org or the link below. Today's Bible reading is from the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5 through 6. So, Kayleigh Mcenany just went scorched earth and Tomi Lahren on AOC. You might call it a cat fight, but in reality, it's like a raccoon versus a cat. Yeah. Kayleigh Mcenany and Tomi Lahren just destroy AOC. So let's tune in, guys.
Well, it looks like New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could be gearing up to be the new face of the Democratic Party. The self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist has been drawing tens of thousands to her rallies, pretty big crowds. She's breaking her own fundraising records, and she's surging in polls among Democrats. Now, some are wondering if her latest post is a, quote, soft launch for a presidential run in 2028.
To be welcomed here in this state, all of us together, seeing our common cause, this is what this country is all about. Don't let them trick us into thinking we are enemies. Don't let them trick us into thinking we can be separated into rural and urban, black and white and Latino. We are one. And from the waitress who is now speaking to you today from this podium, I can tell you, impossible is nothing. Miracles start with mustard seeds. And that is what each and every one of you represent today.
Kennedy, that looks like a launch to me. And let me start with just her role in the Democratic Party. So aside from her general approvals in the population, 61%, according to YouGov, of Democrats view her favorably. This means she has the highest favorability of any Democrat who has not run for president. A Yale University survey found her at number 2 in a hypothetical matchup in a Democratic primary. So she's no one to scoff at. She's certainly someone who could potentially win a nomination.
Yes, so here's what happened. The 4 years of the Biden administration created a power vacuum because you had a president who wasn't really leading. You also had an administration that didn't have very solid ideas for the Democrat Party. People felt like the party had moved away from them and was being run by old snobs. So when that power vacuum was created, they didn't come up with great ideas in order to defeat Trump and look into the future, but the socialists have been doing that the entire time. So their agenda is based on statism, making government bigger and more oppressive, but also populism. And that's where Democrats ceded the most support to the Republican Party, to President Trump, and to Vice President Vance. So AOC has put herself in the position to fill up that vacuum, and she's doing that with name recognition, social media. But Tomi Lahren made the best point. I think it was about a week ago, and I'm going to let her go off on this because it changed my mind about AOC, because I was like, well, maybe she is a big threat. She's certainly a big threat to economic freedom, but Tomi sort of laid it all out why she could face such a challenge if she's actually faced with other presidential candidates.
Well, you teed Tomi up perfectly to make that case.
Yeah, so my question last week, and I have the same question, is can we imagine AOC in a debate situation? And I'm not even talking about a presidential debate between a Republican candidate and AOC. I'm talking about a primary. I'm talking about, can she hold her own when actually challenged about policy positions? Even what are her own policy positions? And if you look at her policy positions, if she were to go on stage and talk about those, she might still be able to get a crowd. But could she even get Democrats on her side? Because Democrats are saying, we want you to moderate. And she is the most extreme. The Green New Deal, universal health care, wide open borders, lawlessness, cashless bail. Those are all AOC policy positions that she's never actually articulated well, by the way. You can go on stage and talk about a mustard seed, and you can talk about we don't separate between this. That sounds great if you are a rock star or a motivational speaker. Her policy positions are not popular within her own party. I don't even think she could unseat Chuck Schumer. And I certainly don't think she could be the Democrat nominee. We got Joe Biden in 2020 because he was the most moderate on that stage, not because he was some shining star. So the Democrat Party would be well to understand that. Influencer culture does not translate to a general election.
You know, Trace, I think you need two things to win the presidency in this day and age. Number one, you need a brand. Trump had a brand, a hugely popular MAGA brand. Obama had a brand. AOC has a brand. She has 35 million followers. She comes across very authentic, despite the first-class seats and the private flights she's taking. But the issues are the problem. And Peter Hamby points out her net favorability, 6 points underwater, 18 points behind Bernie Sanders. Plenty of other polls show that. And in fact, favorables with the general population behind Trump, Elon Musk, and J.D. Vance.
And the far left of the party is getting away from that. They're saying, listen, we don't have to worry about policy issues, right? You had Jasmine Crockett coming on yesterday saying, listen, we shouldn't have to worry about policy. It's all about the vibe. You're back to the vibe. If you look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the answer to Tommy's question is no. She couldn't win a debate. You look at her on CNN. She doesn't interview well. She's great on social media. I mean, she's really compelling. She's got a gazillion followers, and that's her niche. That's where she really excels. But you put her on live television, you put her in a debate, she's not going to do well. She has kind of worked on her delivery. You know, she's got this affectation, just like Kamala Harris does, where she speaks in front of people and she changes the tone of her voice, changes the accent of her voice. So she's trying to figure out where she's going to go. But until she figures out how to combat and be really good at debates and really good on policy, she's nothing but a social media candidate.
Lydia, this is, I think, the best point I have seen made about AOC. And it was made by a progressive activist to Peter Hamby at Puck News. And, you know, it's easy to say, oh, let's put all the progressives in one bucket. But you can't do that. And this is the point the activist made, that the key distinction between her and Bernie Sanders is the core question swirling around whether she can appeal beyond a lefty New York congressional district. Bernie is a class-first, class-only guy, where she is preoccupied by race and identity. He has had one focus, the billionaires, the millionaires, the working class. We can all do his little accent. But she has focused on race and identity, which puts her in a separate bucket, maybe more the woke bucket than Bernie Sanders has been in.
And I think that's going to come back to bite her. I don't think that's going to work well in her favor. And I think she probably knows that, because if you look at that video that she just posted on her social media, it seems like she's trying to step back. She's talking about how don't let them divide us. We're all one. That is very different than what she's talked about in the past. But I think Tommy is absolutely right, especially when you talk about her track record and her ability to stand on her own 2 feet and debate some of the issues, particularly the ones that she has weighted in on. At Fox Business, which is where you can usually find me, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about economic and policy issues. And we know, Trace, to your point, how important the economy was during this last election. So I think Americans really want to know moving forward where our candidates stand on economics. She does not have a good track record. Self-professed socialist, wants to tax the rich. And let's be clear, when you talk about taxing the rich, you're talking about taxing small business owners. And whether you're a small business owner or you're one of the nearly 1 out of 2 Americans in this country that are employed by a small business, that should alone concern you. You know, years ago, when she first was elected to Congress, I was a local news reporter here in the city, and I will never forget how she is responsible for running Amazon out of this city and how many of her constituents will never forgive her.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, Donald Trump just came out and said that the market is going to boom.
The markets today are way down. The worst day of the year because of the tariff. So how's it going? I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal?
Yeah, everyone is trying to make a deal right now. Donald Trump got a deal with the UK, he got a deal with China, but now look at this. President Trump has locked in over $3.2 trillion in investments from his trip to the Middle East. 600 billion from Saudi Arabia, 1.2 trillion from Qatar, 1.4 trillion from the United Arab Emirates. So the stock is absolutely soaring now because of President Trump and all these deals. I mean, just take a look at the stock chart. It is going absolutely ballistic. Here we go. This is the stock chart. Trump market is booming and it just keeps going up and up and up. I actually added a screenshot on my website, thefinancezone.org, of my investments. I'm now up over $7,000 just in the past month from taking Trump's advice. So if you want to sign up and get 90% off, the sale's ending soon, and you can get up to $1,000 in stocks inside with our SoFi referral link. But also, you can now use code GOLDENAGE for an additional discount when you click sign up now at checkout. So check that out. Let's get back to the video.